problem or the error that science introduces into the world, even as it opens our eyes to all sorts of new truths, right? The misconception that it is liable to give rise to is the idea that some sort of physical reality, some configuration of things in space, is a kind of bedrock of reality, independent of our human consciousness, independent of our standpoint and our way of looking at things, and therefore more true than some other thing that we alone can perceive like beauty, right? The idea that the physical world is more real than the world of morality or the world of memory or the world of desire, right, comes from this notion that we can, by describing things mathematically in a way that coheres, we have therefore identified some final bedrock and stop of reality. And this is what Plato also is contesting when he says that looking upward doesn't just mean looking physically at the sky, right? He's saying actually there is something behind even the motion of the heavens, even if we find more elegant and in more accurate ways to describe the motions of the heavens and predict the motions of the heavens. What we've really done is we've achieved a certain level of what Barfield calls dashboard knowledge. We know how our representations are going to behave, but we have not penetrated beyond the veil of our representations, which is what we sort of think we've done. We sort of have this common misconception that by getting better scientific analysis, we're getting beyond the sort of subjective encounter of the human mind with reality, which enables us to perpetuate the fiction that there's something called objective truth that has nothing to do with our human subjectivity. And then there's subjective truth, which isn't really true at all, or at best is kind of true for you, and whatever you say about it can be true. And this gives rise to the kind of parallel thought that, well, if I find something beautiful and you find it ugly, there's no way of adjudicating between those two things. There's no truth about beauty, and what it's just whatever you happen to like. You do you, man. And this bifurcation, this split between so-called objective truth, which is merely physical, and so-called purely subjective truth, which is all the stuff that we can just kind of dismiss as irrelevant or having no authority, or at least just being, purely arbitrary. I mean, usually when we say the word subjective, we mean arbitrary, right? This is the problem that science has introduced into our consciousness, is the misconception that science gives rise to that becomes scientism, that becomes the worship of science. Because, of course, if you decide that only the things that science discovers are really or objectively or finally true, independent of our consciousness, whatever that means, right? If you decide that, then you're going to locate all kinds of truth in science. You're going to decide that science gives a full and exhaustive account of the world.